The Story of Punggol. Okay, I can understand that we have to move to Singapore, but why Punggol? I read about Singapore beforehand, and it was like Orchard Road sounds so much better to live in than rather than old run-down Punggol. Ophelia Jones grumbled. Ophelia and her family had just moved to Singapore because her father's company had posted him to work here for 2 years. As Ophelia complained about not wanting to live in Punggol, Mr. Jones tried to explain to her that Punggol was more interesting than it looks. Ophelia used every trick in the book to convince her parents to move to Orchard Road instead. However, they would not budge. Accepting defeat, Ophelia retreated to her room without another word. She was angry with her parents. She could not see eye to eye with their decision. Just then, Ophelia heard her mother say, "Ophelia, you have school tomorrow. You'll be going to a local school." Ophelia flopped onto her new bed and groaned into her pillow. "I already hate this," mumbled Ophelia. The next day, with a rather ugly uniform clad on her, Ophelia walked her way into the new school. Sunshine Primary was nothing like a school back home in Australia. The school back home was more vibrant and generally felt classy. Sunshine Primary, on the other hand, had random colours popping out everywhere, funny a few walls and pillars complementing each other. After about 15 minutes, Ophelia found her way into the hall. Immediately, teacher pulled her aside and asked, "Are you Ophelia Jones?" Ophelia replied with a mere nod. "I'm Miss Tan. I will be your form teacher. I will also be teaching you English." Ophelia thought, does the standard of English here even measure up to the one back home? After going through morning assembly, Ophelia followed Miss Tan to the classroom. Miss Tan's voice rang throughout the classroom as she said, "Class, we have a new student here with us, and she has just moved to Singapore from Australia. Ophelia, please introduce yourself." Ophelia scoffed to herself under her breath. She thought about how she would really introduce herself if it's not something you would like to hear. Ophelia put on the brightest fake smile on her face and said in the brightest voice you could muster, "Hello, I'm Ophelia Jones. I recently moved here from Australia. I play basketball and netball. I also really enjoyed reading fantasy books and watching fantasy films." Everybody clapped after her introduction. The day seemed to drag on forever. During recess, she looked at the different items on the menu. "Mi Sham, Nasi Lemak, Prata, Char Kway. She had never heard of these foods with odd names. When she bought her food and tasted it, she would have spat the food out if it were not for her hunger. When the final bell of the day rang, signaling it was time to go home, Ophelia could not feel any happier. After a week of attending local school, Ophelia Jones decided that she had enough. "I want to transfer to an international school now," Mrs. Jones' voice piped up. "And why would you want to do that, my dear?" Ophelia began ranting to her mother about how she hated the local school, how she hated the food, it supposedly triggered puking and coughing, how the work was too hard and she was unable to cope. "Mom, only a college student could do the work," Ophelia cried out. How stressful the environment was for her. Ophelia even made up some cock and bull story about how she was being bullied by her peers for being Australian, and that they beat her up since her first day. Mrs. Jones knew her daughter and saw through all those lies. Ophelia would play with her hair if she was lying, which was exactly what she was doing at this moment. Ophelia then asked me, "So then, can I transfer to an international school?" Mrs. Jones bluntly replied, "No!" Saturday soon arrived and Ophelia was strolling along the Punggol waterway with her parents. Her parents insisted that they went for a walk so that Ophelia could let off steam and relax. Ophelia simply scoffed and rolled her eyes when her parents proposed the idea the night before. "Are you feeling more relaxed now, Ophelia?" asked Mr. Jones. Ophelia retorted sarcastically, rolling her eyes. Oh yes, you sound relaxed. Mrs. Jones got in and said sternly. Ophelia Delilah Jones, show some respect. Apologize to your father now. Ophelia sighed and apologized. As they continued strolling, Ophelia started having a bit of a headache, but she merely brushed it off. I'm just tired, she thought to herself. However, the headache was hurting more than usual. Suddenly, her mother and father disappeared. Out of the blue, her surroundings changed. The waterway faded out of sight only to be replaced by Malays and Chinese coming from every direction with woven baskets on their heads. What? How did I get here? This looks like something out of a history book. Ophelia breathed out. Hello there, Ophelia heard. Ophelia looked around fervently to find the source of the greeting, but to no avail. Very soon, she discovered there was a small yellow bird hovering over her left shoulder. Who are you? Questioned a very confused Ophelia Jones. I happen to be Oliver, Ophelia, replied the bird. First of all, how is this bird talking? Second, how does it know my name? Thought Ophelia. As if Oliver read her mind, the bird scoffed. I know your name because I've heard from other birds in Punggol about you whining and complaining about how Punggol is so boring. Ophelia replied angrily. Am I wrong? It's supposedly modern, yet everywhere I turn looks like a pigsty. I see you lived up to your reputation, Oliver retorted. After Oliver's speech, everything started to sink in. Ophelia was not at the waterway anymore. She looked around and everything looked like it came out of a history book. With the politest voice she had ever used, Ophelia asked Oliver, What year is it? Oliver perched himself on Ophelia's left shoulder before replying calmly, The year? Oh, it's 1819. What? Ophelia squealed. How did I end up in 1819? This doesn't make any sense. Just a minute ago, I was in 2021. Oliver remarked sarcastically. The great and also wonderful Ophelia Delilah Jones doesn't know how she wound up in 1819. Isn't it obvious? You traveled through time. Thanks to me. Proud bitch. Ophelia shrieked. Let me go home right this second. Oliver scoffed. Home? Oh, so now Punggol is your home? I didn't say that, screamed Ophelia. It could be seen on her face that she was irritated. Fine, if you don't want me to use home, then let's go back to Punggol this very second, she demanded. Relax, calm down, said Oliver. Before you go home, I will share some information with you. Maybe you'll change your views about Punggol. There is no way that is going to happen, but for the sake of going back to the present, I shall allow myself to listen to you. Now speak up, Ophelia sneered. Oliver gently said, You know, my dear, there is no reason to feel that way as well as to hate Punggol. It is what your parents have said, modern and developing. No way, prove that to me, Ophelia retorted. Oliver then flapped his wings and the surroundings changed again. For you to understand, I want you to follow this path. What's this? Ophelia asked as she stepped onto a rainbow-painted road. Oh, it's a path through time. Go on, I'll come with you, Oliver replied. Well, I think I'll go after you too. You aren't very trustworthy, Ophelia said. Ophelia looked as if Oliver flew and hovered. Now, come with me. As she walked onto the path, the road behind immediately disappeared. Go on, you can't return to 1819, Oliver told Ophelia. Ophelia tried to walk away, but she was stuck on the path. Oliver stayed on Ophelia's shoulder As she walked on the path, they could see different things and events occurring. It was as if she was walking through a history movie about Punggol in 1819. All of a sudden, the surroundings changed. There are more structures around them now. The amazed Ophelia shrieked. "How did you do that? Where are we now?" "Still here in Punggol. We are now in the 1900s. Look at those settlers. Some of them were fishermen. Some carried out poultry and pig farming. Punggol used to be home to pig farmers. Let's move on." Oh shit, no. "Let's move on," Ophelia said in a hurry as she wanted to return to the present. When she looked to her left, she saw a bungalow house surrounded by an extensive fruit garden, rows of palm trees, and well-maintained lawns. "What is this beautiful house?" "This is called the Matilda House, and the owner is Alexander William Cashin, an Irish lawyer. This became an iconic landmark here in Punggol. It was built in... Oh, and by the way, we are in the year 1902, Oliver said. Moving their way further along the path, the surroundings changed again. Ophelia saw zebras. "What are these zebras doing here?" "It's 1922. These are the zebras of William Lawrence Soma Basapa. He has 200 animals and 2,000 birds. His zoo is called Basapa Punggol Zoo," explained Oliver. "A zoo? Is there still a zoo in Punggol in 2021? Asked Ophelia as she walked along the road. "Not anymore, because..." "Hurry! We need to hide! They are coming!" exclaimed Oliver. They hid behind a huge rock. Then Ophelia whispered, "What now? Why are we hiding? Who are those people over there? Are they soldiers?" Ophelia asked one question after another. With a low voice, Oliver answered, "Shh! Quiet! They are Japanese soldiers. We are now in the middle of the Second World War. They used the Punggol beach as one point of entry to invade Singapore. Punggol's infrastructure will be badly affected." Oh no! Cover your ears!" Bang! Ophelia heard gunshots one after another. Her ears felt like they were bleeding, for the shots were unbearably loud. The smell of gunpowder was clear in the surrounding air. She peeked over the rocks slightly and saw dozens of Chinese male youths dead on the floor, laying in pools of their own crimson red blood. The whole affair was unsightly. Ophelia involuntarily let out a squeal. "Why are there so many dead men on the ground?" Ophelia stuttered. Oliver whispered in reply, "This is where the massacre of over 400 Chinese male youths occurred. They were brutally murdered by the Japanese soldiers." "Will the soldiers come after us? What are we waiting for? Let's run for our lives!" Ophelia screamed. Ophelia ran as fast as she could towards the nearby forest until she was deep inside it. She panted madly after her dash. Beads of sweat trickled down her forehead, and multiple strands of her hair struck to her face. "Why didn't you tell me immediately? Do you want me dead? You really don't want me to go back to the present, do you?" Ophelia questioned, with her eyes ablaze with fury when they reached the post-war era. "Sorry, I didn't mean it. I just wanted you to realize what Punggol went through all these years," said Oliver. At these words, Ophelia took a deep breath and spoke softly. "Okay, I'll tell you honestly. I was amazed after I saw those things. From the first settlers, to the beautiful house, to the zoo, and even to the Second World War. I realized how Punggol started from very humble beginnings," Oliver said. "Keep walking, my dear. We are now entering the years of change after the World War. Take time to see the changes." Ophelia gaped in wonder as the landmarks slowly came and went. From the Punggol Rural Center, a few blocks of housing, the pig farms, which are once abundant around Punggol, to the vibrant and modern town Story Of Punggol known today. I understand now where you're coming from. I admit I'm wrong. I now know that Punggol is as important to you and that it is not boring like the way I looked at it before. Almost everything around Punggol now is modern and the people are living in a more confident way because of these new facilities. I am thankful that you opened your mind about it. So I assume you're okay with Punggol now? Asked Oliver. Proudly, Ophelia said in a clear voice. Of course, I definitely don't hide Punggol anymore. When I go back to the present, I promise to visit the places I saw here. I will go around Punggol and explore it, for I know that it is not what it seems. Thank you for bringing me here. Slowly though, Oliver began to fade away. What is happening? Ophelia asked as the road disappeared and time traveled back to where she came from. All of a sudden, she heard a familiar voice. Ophelia, are you okay? Ophelia thought the voice sounded like her mother. As Ophelia slowly came back to reality, she realized that her parents were speaking to her. You just sat down here under the tree and closed your eyes. Are you really tired? Do you want to go home now? Her mother asked. Ophelia hesitated for a while. I think so. Let's go home now. Why can't we do this again tomorrow and explore Punggol? Ophelia told her parents as she thought about what she said to Oliver, her imaginary feathered friend. Her parents looked at each other, puzzled. Mr. Jones then said, Alright, let's go home and order a nice meal. We'll prepare for our journey tomorrow. With their arms linked together, the Jones family walked back to their house with a skip in their step, excited for their next journey. Get it? I changed the Singaporean accent. That's so cool, right? Okay. The end.